morning. Good to see all the construction in your background there, Brian.
It's upstairs. I'm in our downstairs basement bedroom.
There you go. Got it. Well, it looks like it's 3:30. We are short. Well, first of all, Darlene will not be in attendance, so our chairperson in absence means that the vice chair gets to step in and run the meeting. That would be me. So happy to be here, happy to do that. I'm not sure if Michael is attending. Did anyone happen to hear from him at all this week?
He's on the call.
Michael's on.
I'm here. Oh, sorry, I didn't see your picture. There you go. It was like, no worries. There we go. Now I got you. Perfect. Well, then why don't we do, and Leslie, you're going to be stepping in for Yvette. Thank you very much. So why don't we do a call to order and roll call?
Sarah Burley.
Here.
Michael Cadell.
Here.
Arlene Mosey. Absent. J.C. Myers.
Here.
Brian Sowers.
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you.
Perfect. All right, so we'll step right into public appearances. Members of the public are entitled to speak on matters of municipal concern, not on the agenda during public appearances. Each person's comments shall be limited to 3 minutes or as otherwise established by the commission. Matters not appearing on commission's agenda will not receive action at this meeting, but may be referred to staff for a future meeting. Persons are not required to give their names, but it's helpful for speakers to state their names so that they may be identified in the minutes of the meeting. So do we have anyone from the public that would like to speak? Yes, Raimi.
Hello, this is Raimi Allard with the Friends of Carmel Forest. I just wanted to reiterate and remind Sarah and Bob that I want to continue the conversation about the Friends of Carmel Forest paying for some tree work to be done. We are very keen to help in that fashion, and we're sorry that we don't have enough manpower to help physically, but we got cash and that's good. So please let us know how we can help, and let's get that button down. Everything else from the Friends of Carmel Forests is doing fine. We appreciate the fact that Sarah's been very communicative about some of our trees failing, and just everything's going well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Raimi, and I'm sure that Bob and company will find good use of dollars. So that's very generous of your group. So thank you very much. Is there anyone else from the public that would care to make an appearance?
My name's Lucinda Lloyd. I think I did my little raise hand thing, but I don't see it.
Sorry, I see that now. Hi there, Lucinda.
Okay. Hi there. I just thank you very much for acknowledging me and allowing me to take up a little bit of your time. The subject that I'm going to speak to today is very brief, but I take care of the plants at the Memorial Arch. And what I noticed after the holiday period was that the plastic garland that was with lights that was wrapped around the iron railing had shed a lot of pieces of little plastic, fake greenery. And my concern is that given rains, which we haven't had, of course we did have, that it will eventually be washed into the drainage system at Ocean Avenue in San Carlos. I generally take a broom and sweep those kinds of things up, but I don't know that that's going to happen all the time. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring it up that that particular garland may just be too old and it may be time for a substitute or a new alternative. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Lucinda, and I really appreciate the work you do with the plants right there at the Memorial Arch. Thank you for doing that for the city. That's very kind of you. Yeah. Anyone else from the public care to make an appearance? I don't see anybody else's hands. So I'll go ahead and close out public appearances and then open up to announcements. And of course, the biggest announcement of the day is that it's our director's birthday. So I think happy birthday from all of your commissioners there, Bob. And sorry we didn't make it for the cake earlier, but there's some left will come on by.
There's none left, but thank you so much. It was a fun little surprise party that I knew was coming in anyway. So
those are always the best kind of surprises, right? Yeah. The ones you know.
Yeah. I'm 42 now, so.
Well, happy birthday. It looks like you have your hand up. Do you have some announcements today?
Yes, I did have 2 announcements, Mr. Chair. The first is kind of a quick update on our staffing, good news and not so good news. Our new tree care specialist who you'll meet at the next meeting, his name is Eric Miller. He'll start on Tuesday or Wednesday, the 16th, February 16th next week. And a maintenance worker on the street side, Gilbert Tamayo, will be starting on the same day on February the 16th. We do have another maintenance worker for forestry. It's premature to say. We're hoping it will be March the 1st, but it's imminent that we're going to have another. So that's 3 new people in the field. The bad news is that, without naming names because it's a little premature, but appears that we'll be losing a senior maintenance worker with a lot of experience, and that could be another devastating hit to forestry. So that's to be determined on the details, but that's kind of hot off the press. The other announcement I have is that I'll be on medical leave from the 26th for 1 to 2 months. I have major surgery coming up. My guess is that I'll be completely out of commission for 4 weeks, and then start to ramp back up back to full capacity by the end of 8 weeks. For those of you who know Fred Muir, he'll be stepping in as the interim public works director. He was the city manager for the city of Monterey for like 23 or something years, and he was formerly a public works director and a colonel in the Army. So a lot of history as a retired annuitant. So I know he'll be taking my place, but I will be back.
Okay, well, thank you for that announcement, and of course, we wish you well and speedy recovery when you get through with your surgery there. So, any other announcements?
Lucinda has one.
Oh, Lucinda, you still have your hand up. Did you have another announcement, or did you have an announcement that you'd like to make?
So terribly sorry.
Oh, no,
let me see if I can get. Oh, there. How's that?
Oh, perfect. Okay, thanks. No worries. So no additional announcements. Anyone else with any announcements? All right. Well, then let's move right into the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are routine in nature and do not require discussion or independent action. Members of the commission or the public may ask that any items be considered individually for purposes of commission discussion and or for public comment. Unless that is done, one motion may be used to adopt all recommended actions. So on our consent agenda would be to approve the January 13th, 2022 regular meeting minutes. Did anyone have anything that they wanted to discuss about those minutes?
I move they be approved.
I second it.
Great, then could we get a roll call for that?
Sarah Burling,
Yes.
Michael Cadell,
Yes.
J.C. Myers,
Yes.
Brian Sowers.
Yes.
Approved, thank you.
Perfect, thanks. So let's get right into our orders of business, and we've got a short one today, which is good and bad, I suppose. We'll call whichever way. First order of the orders of business are agenda items that require city council, board, or commission discussion, debate, direction to staff, and or action. So let's see, the first Our orders of business today is the Ocean Avenue Median Island Renovation Project. Ma'am, I'm going to hand it over to you, Sarah.
Can everyone see my slides? Yes. All right. Awesome. There we go. So, why did we start working on the ocean islands? Well, the city council has made beautification of the downtown a priority. And we also have this happy coincidence that the outdoor seating fees for those little parklets have created a new funding stream that can be utilized for downtown beautification. So currently the islands on Ocean are a little shabby, and they just need a little renovation. So as a pilot project, we renovated the median between Lincoln and Monteverde. And now we have something in the ground. It's time to see if the commission likes what we've done and thinks that we should move forward with renovating the remaining 4 islands. Ooh, I have a typo there. Sorry about that. We want to have the design across all 5 islands have cohesion, so it still looks like you're in one place with a common feel. So as part of our project here, the pilot, we introduced some state-of-the-art irrigation parts materials. So we're using a inline drip emitter tubing that will wet the area of the median as a whole to provide moisture to the trees and to the newly planted shrubs and perennials. We have a new modern controller that we can update just with a Bluetooth connection. So we won't have to have staff members going across traffic and climbing into the islands to make adjustments to the timers. So we went with an approach of using native and cultivated plants. So the plants that are in the island now, we left for the most part, taking out some scrubby perennials. I'd like to remind you that we did this project in January. That's when there aren't a lot of choices in your garden centers for flowering plants, especially. So in the pilot, this is where we put in kind of the foundation plantings. So mostly those shrubs and larger perennials with smaller, more colorful plants to be filled in as they become available later into the spring. So this is our color palette. So these are our trees, our oaks, our pine, our cypress, and our ceanothus and toyon. So we're introducing some shrubs here. We have existing some of the manzanita here, and we have some ceanothus as well. So we're introducing the native gooseberry that will bloom pink. Also the rock rose, the oak leaf hydrangea, and the Fire Mountain pieris. So we did have an opportunity to find some herbaceous plants in January with the pea shrub and 2 different heucheras. So my intent with the plant selection so far is to have something interesting going on throughout the year. So my color palette is blues, pinks, whites, and reds. And then some pops of color with some of that foliage in the lime and the purple. So you can see over time, there's always something interesting going on, even into the winter. So hopefully that'll have a nice effect of keeping the islands lush and colorful and nice to be around. So we installed that first island, and all of those shrubs are going to fill in. Most of the shrubs will be about 3 feet tall, which will make it more difficult for people to cross the median in the middle of the block. But they're not going to be so high that you can't see across the islands. to see the other businesses across the street that you might want to visit. And then we also can introduce some boulders and things like that as barriers as well. So some of the things we can use to prevent those mid-block crossers go back to environmental psychology. Naturally, people tend to steer clear of things that are pointy. Even though they're not sharp, in reality, they can look to be sharp. So using shapes like that can deter people from entering an area. Also, putting in some rock features to actually be a physical barrier, and potentially using shrubs that have a thorn. So once the person gets into the median, they encounter something that would be unpleasant to climb over and should turn them back around. There also could be a possibility of including some type of barrier, potentially. But the Carmel Residents Association is possibly talking they're talking about possibly donating materials and labor to create a split rail fence down the center islands. And ultimately, I think I would like to add more colorful displays at the ends of the islands, the bull noses, just to kind of give it a little extra pop of color. So with that, one of my slides has dropped off. So I would like to thank everyone who participated in this project. That would be our friend Cindy Lloyd, as well as Brandon Swanson, our planning director, and Bob Carreri, of course, from Public Works, and our two rock star gardeners, Renee and Mike. So with that, my recommendation to the commission is that you give us the thumbs up to roll through and finish out the rest of the islands with the kind of design intent that I've set forth here today.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Before we go out to the public for comments, does anyone on the commission have any questions particular to what Sarah, our forester, just presented to us? I don't see any hands or anyone speaking, so I'll open this up for public comment. Anyone from the public care to comment on the presentation that was just made? I see that Lucinda has figured out how to get her hand up. She's the best at it so far. Yes.
Up on my screen, I see the agenda. I'm wondering if you wanted it up on the screen. But at any rate, I just wanted to say thank you very much to Brandon for kind of kicking this off, Bob for getting the Public Works involved, for Sarah and Mike for meeting with me a few times, Carmel Cares for their volunteers. And it's a much needed project. I think it looks great. I only question the use of the very, very pretty primroses at the bull noses, which require a lot of water. But I'm sure Sarah was limited by the plant selections that were available at the time of shopping. So thumbs up, I think it's great. And carrying the continuity through the other medians will really do a great service for Carmel. So thanks very much to everybody.
Okay, thank you. Rami, I see you've got your hand up.
Thanks. Yeah, I just would probably echo Lucinda's comment with respect to water use. The Pieris is very thirsty, and the rock roses could benefit from more water than most of us want to give them. I would just also ask that stipa or nacella that is down across from Carmel Bay Company be yanked, because it is so invasive, and it's sadly been used by landscape architects for years because it gives that sexy wispy look, and it is so invasive, and you'll find it all the way down to the beach. So just keep cognizant of water use and invasive species. Thanks.
Got it, appreciate it. Anyone else from the public who'd like to make a comment? Looks like we've got a rather small group today, so I Not seeing anyone else. I'll close the public comments and bring it back to the commission. From the commission level, anyone like to start off a discussion about this? We've heard our forester make her recommendation. You give us this a thumbs up. So let's see who's got something to say. Ms. Burley, yes.
I think it looks very good. I like having some decoration at the beginning of both sides, both ends of the project. And I think it's a very useful project. We do need to upgrade those median strips. So I'm all for it.
Got it. I'm in agreement with you. I see, Bob, you've got your hand up. So what would you like to say?
Yeah, if I may, going back to the staff report at the bottom, it talks about what kind of discussion topics we're seeking the commission's comments on. And I'll read them. It's the comments, or for us to tell you about the comments received to date from the public. I mean, I'll cover that one. Second is potential designs for the 4 islands not included in the pilot project. You already had some comments about refinements to this design, but we're looking to the commission. Are we going to go forward with the same design 4 more times? Third is protecting of the landscaping during events, and that was that one illustration that showed that that post and railing type of fence along there, and the ongoing care of the plantings. So this is, we're investing in the median islands, but they don't maintain themselves. So these are topics to talk about. If I may, I'll take that first one. As far as we know, all comments that received to date were positive. We got no negative comments. We did put what's called Survey Monkey on the city website, and that was announced at the city council meeting. As of yesterday, there were 0 responses, unfortunately. But we did, as it was being installed, there were a lot of people driving by and saying, hey, it looks great, it looks great. So I think the community overall is very, sees it as a very positive upgrade, but we don't have a lot of tangible written comments. The other thing I wanted to briefly mention is the Carmel Resident Association yesterday, hot off the press, was meeting with the planning department about submitting their plans for a zigzag fence, zigzag split rail fence to go along the center of these median islands. So that might be something that may or may not happen. It would be at the CRA's expense. Before that were to be approved, we would have to go through the planning process and go to the planning commission. It would become before your Forest and Beach Commission. Then it would have to go to the city council to accept funding for the project. And then we would have to, hire a contractor to build the project. So it's a ways off. Sarah and Cindy and the gang designed this landscaping to accommodate a zigzag fence. So the details remain to be seen, but that project seems to be coming more to fruition than more recently than it has been. It was talked about for a number of years, but now it sounds like it's moving forward into the permitting and plan stage. So that's all I got.
Thank you, and I appreciate you reminding us what our topics that we should be discussing. So thank you for that. Commissioner Cadell.
Yeah, a comment. I think it's great. It looks wonderful, and I went by a couple of days ago and was able to see it. And I would not, though, and this is just my sort of knee-jerk reaction. I would not, I think, want a split rail fence down the center of every median. I think it would be nice to have a split rail fence, perhaps in 1, maybe 2, and the fence would give you, it seems to me, some flexibility in your plantings, because otherwise, without a fence, you need to plant something that will discourage people from crossing the median and walking over it. So you've got your shrubs, you've got boulders and things like that. But I think it's nice to have some medians without a fence where it's more natural, and I love the look with the boulders and the shrubs and things like that. And then I guess from a color standpoint, yes, if you've got flowering shrubs, that's great. But I get the concept would be to have your perennial, your flowers more at the bullnose, at the ends of the, which sounds good to me. But anyway, those are my only thoughts. But I think it's great, really. It's something that needed doing, and it's very encouraging.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Sowers.
Yeah, I agree with Mike Cadell on this. I mean, I think it would be nice to put in a railing on one, maybe two as well, or put one on and see how it goes. I mean, there are certain medians in town that tend to get more people kind of crossing across the median than others, whether it's where the coffee shop is or other areas, and maybe notice where the traffic really tends to want to cross, you know, in the middle of the median versus on the sidewalks where they're supposed to be crossing. Maybe give one a shot and see whether it really, I mean, the whole idea, I guess, behind the fencing, is it a visual thing or is it to keep people from crossing the middle of the median? Because I think without the fences, it's kind of nice. It kind of gives it that natural look. But I get it. I get that sometimes a wood median would slow the potential for people crossing the middle of the median.
Got it. I would, I see your hand up, Commissioner Burley. I'll be right with you. Okay. Just thought I might kind of interject some comments of my own. I'm in agreement that there might necessitate some certain parts of different medians that to create a, you know, essentially a hazard so people won't come through, and maybe a zigzag fence in certain parts of medians that we know tend to be the most trafficked could be put in place, as opposed to doing the entire median with a zigzag fence. Is driftwood or wood in general, like for trees that we're taking down and bringing that wood and putting that on the ground, is that something that could be considered too, maybe a little more natural as opposed to putting a fence in place? Kind of a couple of my thoughts just specific to this, and I'd like to make some comments on some of the other things we're supposed to talk about, but then I'll push back over to you, Commissioner Burling. You had your hand up.
In terms of the fence, having every year done the Concord and the Avenue, the fence down the middle would keep people from going across. But what I saw a lot of people doing when there's more people around is standing on the edges into the garden and standing on the plants without really meaning to, but by the time they talked on their phone and so on, it became cracked bushes. A couple of them said they were sorry as they realized they'd done it. But so definitely the first block with the plaza and the park, people do cross over there a lot. And several times I saw guys jump down and fall flat on their face. But fortunately, I said, please don't go down there. And so they ran off because they were embarrassed, which was better than suing us or something. But I'm not sure a fence down the middle, it would keep people from going, but it wouldn't keep people from standing up onto our median and using it as a place to kind of stop for a while.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'm like looking through, I think one of the things that we need to consider is the ongoing care of the plantings. So I realize that there's a budget to consider. So is this something that I understand each median is about $10,000 or thereabouts to kind of get it in ship shape to look as of the median we got to see today, the pilot. What do we think the budget needs to be set going forward, though, to make sure that we can take care of those plantings? What are your thoughts around that? I mean, it's not really sustainable in my mind to think that we would be dedicating $40,000 a year to the medians for care, but I don't know what the commission thinks. Just interested in hearing.
Would you like me to answer some of that?
Thanks, that'd be great.
So nobody wants fussy plants that you have to mess with every day. So the idea is using plant material that you don't have to touch very often. So cutting back the perennials once a year, doing some structure pruning on the small trees that are introduced. Just general weeding and upkeep. I personally think that's something that the city staff should take great pride in and take great care of. But we're not picking things that are going to be a heavy lift.
Okay, great. So essentially, once we get it in play, the maintenance of it will just be a pretty simple, well, we'll go simple, but just standard kind of city maintenance. Okay, got it. Does anyone else have any other comments specific to this? The design, is there any other comments about the design? I personally, looking at what I saw today, I mean, it looks very clean and simple to me, and I realize it's because there's only so many plant selections that are available, and they're very young, and I look forward to seeing them come in. But really, I think less is more in these kinds of in these situations. So that's my take. But anybody else? Let's see. Oh yes, Commissioner Sowers.
Yeah, so Sarah, the only thing that I might make a comment on, I don't know how Dale and the Carmel Cares group, but one of the things I know that we always battle with in any areas that we're in are the weeding aspects of these things. And was there any idea to lay down a weed tarp underneath the, underneath the bark with the watering lines on top of that to eliminate, ongoing having to weed issues? Because weeds are definitely an issue, and then those tarps tend to mitigate weed growth.
The landscape fabric, we did not put landscape fabric down. It can be problematic. If it's there for a while and you have mulch on top, eventually the mulch starts to degrade and look bad. So then you put more mulch on top. So what you've created is almost like new organic soil for the weeds to germinate in on top of the fabric. So it delays it for a little while. We did, however, apply a pre-emergent. So any seeds that are in those basically planters, if they germinate, this pre-emergent herbicide basically kills that little seedling. So that hopefully will help us get those weeds under control. And eventually we'll be able to eliminate the seed bank that's there now. And so it would be much easier to keep the level of weeds down in the future.
Was Carmel Cares making any commitment on a longer term basis, like the median minder program, and whether we got business median minder program that's situated around the medians?
Let me answer. Yeah, let me take that one. They know about it. They participated in cleaning up that first island. They scraped off the old what's referred to as scraggly bushes and things. So they've already participated. They haven't made a solid commitment. Yes, they will take maintenance over in perpetuity, but they are aware of it, and we just haven't got to that point. And I guess really it also depends on what the design is. If the design becomes a lot more intensive, they might want to shy away from ongoing maintenance. If it's probably more of the same, I would imagine they're going to pick up whatever they can. But again, it's still a partnership. We'll work with the city staff to maintain. Working together, we can maintain the whole thing.
I actually really enjoyed during our tour today listening to the city employees talk about they're excited about it. There's a lot of they enjoy the creativity that's there, and it sure looks real spiffy. So I think at this point, I mean, unless the commission has any other comments, that we've been asked essentially to approve the renovation of all 5 medians as designed. I don't hear anyone poo-pooing the idea. So, I mean, I think that, unless someone wants to say something different, I think you got our thumbs up from the commission.
Right.
Anybody else? That's it? All right, well then why don't we, okay if we close this one out, Bob?
Let me check with Leslie. Should we, it doesn't really say in the recommendation if we're asking for a formal approval. What is your interpretation of the recommendation? Does this warrant a motion and a vote, or is thumbs up good enough?
The way I read it, a thumbs up. She was just asking for their opinion and their direction. So they all like it. So I think you're good.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Makes sense.
Okay, fantastic. Then let's see, we are gonna move on then to the outreach update. Oh, that's gonna be, I'm gonna take that one, but Sarah, do you mind running the presentation on this?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me, I saved it for you.
Thank you.
And
just a little background, as everybody knows, we created an ad hoc committee that's made up of Commissioner Burnley, myself, and Ramey to go out to our local community and find a group or someone that could help us launch a kind of the forest and beach dialogue with our residents, dialogue with our visitors, and we looked at amazingly. I mean, there's some really incredible talent in our little area, and we did have a chance to look at, I think, 5 really solid presentations from some very talented people in town. This one that I believe our ad hoc committee is recommending to the commission to move forward with, really, I would say is probably the most comprehensive, covering really kind of hitting most of the things that we were hoping to hit. And I think that I'll walk through this presentation for everyone's benefit, and then we can have a discussion around this and make a decision to move forward. Obviously, there's a cost associated with it, and we'll need to take that under consideration. So, all right. So, first of all, this is Maren Elwood. She's a digital media specialist, and thankfully, Ramey brought this to us. And again, I think you'll find it to be quite comprehensive. We'll just go ahead and get into the first slide. Whoop, there it is. So the goals and objectives as we laid it out and was interpreted back to us, the City of Carmel Forest and Beach Commission has asked for proposal for website and social media development. Toward this end, this proposal will outline on-site process and provide the commission with a menu of options. Currently, the CCFBC has a tab on the Carmel City website. The goal of the project is to create a user-friendly website and associated digital tools to enable the public to communicate and interact with the CCFBC, but that's a lot. The new digital tools are to provide the public with current information about forest and beach use, facilitate mobile and website interaction with the CCFBC, and improve the protection of Carmel's forests and beaches by creating awareness of their inherent value for the quality of life in the Carmel area. Finally, the digital tools to be developed are to be easy to use by the public and easy to manage and update by us. Yeah. So she laid out a process and what it's going to take to get it done. As you can see, it's got a year in it, and we've been talking about this for about 6 months. So, hopefully by this time next year, if everyone's on the same page and thinks this is the way we should move forward, we could have a fully functioning digital presence. So there's an assessment period. It'll take a couple months. Then the development piece looks like it takes a couple months to get that done. And then we'll implement. And that implementation will take about 4 months. I think that the review and implementation probably kind of overlap a little bit. And then lastly, there'll be some training, and that training piece will just to keep, whether or not it's the commission or perhaps maybe the environmental club that is from Carmel High helping, or whoever else we incorporate into the mix to help kind of manage and facilitate this as an ongoing digital presence. Yeah, we'll go to 3 or 4. So yeah, without really going through all the details of this, yeah, and I think this kind of sums up what it's gonna take. I think what's important here is that it's saying that we need to create a 2 to 3 person task force. It'd be perfectly fine that the ad hoc committee, if they're so willing, would be the kind of the leads here. But in my opinion, anyone on the commission that would like to be involved in this, and or the forester and or director, and anyone really that's that's got some excitement around this, love to have as a part of this task force. I think kind of the more minds, the better. Yep, thank you. The development piece, I mean, really, yeah, this is kind of the work that'll come into doing it, stuff that this is why we'll pay someone to get this done, right? Lots of things need to be done. Okay. And so this is a good visual of like what and who and how we're going to try to get our, get kind of who we are out there. And we'll create some opportunities for interaction, and hopefully, like the Survey Monkey that Bob sent out, we'll get some responses. We can do things like that. We can do fun little clips on YouTube. We can communicate via Facebook and Instagram, and just lots of different things that will help us communicate the message of what this commission's up to and how what we can do to help educate our citizens and our visitors about our forests and beaches. Yeah. So the implementation there, this will again kind of more the nuts and bolts right here. Keep going. And then we'll get it to test. And so, I think the time frame on this was about, I think it's 6 to 8 months to get to this part. And it's quite possible that this could move at a faster pace, really depending on the, I guess the group and the ability of the group to really kind of have the task force in the beginning to have their presence and their mindset on the direction. So yeah, but it'd be fun to be able to say that we could launch perhaps by year end and be fully functioning. That would be pretty awesome. Okay. So this is the next steps, right? So this is the proposal, there is a budget that was put in front of us. If we are to go forward with this, we would need to make some payments and et cetera. As you can see that, select the people that want to be on that task force, and then get a launch meeting going. So yeah. So here's what the numbers look like. And again, having looked in our ad hoc committee, we did see 5 different presentations that had different facets, each of them. This again, as I started out, I said this is really was the one that was the most comprehensive, and at the same time, actually, probably, I wouldn't say, I don't know if the right word's affordable or not, but I felt like the dollars and cents aligned with what was actually going to be delivered. So that number looks to be about $9,000. I think that there's some upcharge things that will come into play when it comes to photography and maybe some video clips, et cetera, like that. And I think with some direction from the commission, and then obviously getting the dollars out of the director, that we should be able to do something, I think, in the $10,000 to $12,000 range to get it off the ground. Yeah. So that does anyone have any on the commission? Are there any questions for me about what was just presented? Oh, good. That was easy. Then I'm going to open it up to the public for any public comment. Yes, Rainey, you've got your hand up.
Thank you so much, JC, for that presentation. It's been a while since we were talking about this, and I'm happy to see it coming forth. The one thing I wanted to say is that Maren Elwood is happy to come to one of the meetings and answer any questions, to address any concerns, to speak to any technical issues. I think, it's a good thing to have her do that maybe before we make a decision, but it's completely in your hands. So just so you know that is a possibility.
Got it. Thank you. Yes, Ms. Lloyd.
Here we go again.
Yeah, that's great. Come to every meeting.
I'd come to your meeting if it were in person, but instead I have to sit here. But it's not so bad. I get to look over my garden. I think the concept is great. I think interaction with members of the community would benefit the commission and going forward. I think it's really great. I have one comment about SurveyMonkey, and it is also relates to what Bob had to say about the lack of response on the survey about the medians, because I attempted to use the link and it didn't work. So I let Chip know because it was in his Friday letter, and I guess it just never got corrected. So you might have had a few more responses had it been functional. But anyway, I think it's great. I commend you all for the work that you're doing, and I look forward to some form of interactive media.
Got it. Thank you.
Just for the record, real quick, that the link did not work over the weekend. It was corrected first thing Monday morning. So if you want to go in now and add your comments in the survey, that'd be appreciated.
Great.
Got it. Any other comments from the public? Doesn't look like it. I'm going to close public comments. I'm going to bring it back to the commission for discussion, and then I'm going to lead that off with our forester who has her hand up.
Yeah, thanks. Couple, I don't know, of comments. Initially, the content creation can be kind of a heavy lift. So the people that are joining the ad hoc committee should probably know that ahead of time. I am more than happy to provide topics, but I might not necessarily have capacity to flesh out a full post or a full social push, FYI. In terms of the website, government likes to keep their website under control. So creating a separate off-reservation site, the tech people don't really like that because they lose control of it. So we can use our existing content management platform, and we can move things around and design everything, but it would still need to reside on the city's site. So this would be like a micro site within that bigger site. From the budget, I think the SEO seems a little bit high. I think realistically the SEO would be more like around $500. Just that, put that out there. So yeah, those are my comments.
Got it. Thank you. And so I think that might like back to, well, I'll go ahead. I see Brian. Commissioner Sowers, your hand's up.
Just a couple. So just, I know this obviously has been working on this for a while. JC, looks great. There aren't any other things going on in the city wrapped around the same direction at all that we've heard of through other commissions or the city council or just in general, the city website. I'd hate to see us just go down a pathway when we're not kind of coordinating in with what else is going on in the city, because I don't know per se that there's anything else going on. But Sarah, it looked like you had an idea of something.
Yeah, I forgot one thing I needed to talk about. The timing of this is really good because we'll need to do outreach around the citywide urban forest management plan. So having this platform for your voices to be amplified to drive participation in that planning process is very well timed and aligns really well. So from a citywide standpoint, these two things for me in my mind dovetail very well together. As for anything outside of parks and forestry, I'm unaware, but maybe Bob knows about something else going on.
The only thing, the city council has a strategic initiatives list of approximately 30 something projects that will be reviewed again in a workshop in March. I don't have the date. I believe one of those initiatives is what's called social media. So there might be a little bit of overlap there, but I don't think so. I think Sarah's right that the forest management plan, which is starting to launch now, I think that would be the good nexus to piggyback with this initiative to the extent possible. A little bit different, but there is some overlap.
All right, thanks. Commissioner Cadell, you got your hand up. Okay, can't hear you.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to say first, thank you very much to JC and Commissioner Burling and Ramey. I like this, and I think it's something we've needed, and I appreciate the time and energy that went into this and your commitment to do this. And I'm frankly impressed with what they've come up with. And I guess maybe I'm used to working with a lot of media experts and things like that. And so I think the prices are pretty good for me. So maybe it's because in my business, they see me coming and they think, oh, you can pay a lot. And City of Carmel, they realize doesn't. But in any event, I'm really happy with it. And I think it makes sense. And I'm excited about having something like this implemented that can benefit the city and benefit the commission. So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, speaking on behalf of the ad hoc committee, it sounds like there might need to be, and to Ramey's recommendation, that we bring Maren into a meeting and have her talk a little bit about perhaps how she might be able to incorporate this work into the content management platform that Sarah, our forester, talked about. And perhaps that becomes the more kind of official way. I mean, I think as when this idea was kind of birthed, we'll use that, really the notion was around our commission finding a way to have a louder voice, more of a true outreach to our residents and to our visitors, where we feel like really all our city might ever think about is, we're just the people that say you can't cut that tree down, right? And there's so much more out there. And then when we started to talk about it, this notion of kind of having some fun with it too, as a way to communicate, was, I think a real kind of a nexus to take it and push forward. And I don't know if you guys will recall something that Forester Sarah had shared with us. I don't know. I thought she shared it within the group, but it was from her days in Denver, and there was some fun stuff there. And anyway, to that, I'm here to say that I think we found our best option, and perhaps we need to get it. We need to make sure that we're not going to, upset the other commissions or whoever else might have some plans out there. But I think sometimes some people just need to actually take initiative and take the first step forward, and then perhaps you'll see that other commissions want to do the same thing, or not, I guess, I don't know. But the first, I think, as a group, are we in, generally the dollars that we're talking about? I think Director, you kind of, your initial number was about $5,000 that you had thought to kind of put towards something that we could bring back to the table.
Yeah, I think if it's 9,000, did you say, or 10,000?
I think that's what it looks like it'll be.
Yeah, our revenue is higher than projected. I think we can. We're doing okay in our operating budget. We can afford the $10,000. I think we have a great justification for it if anyone questions it.
Okay.
And like you said, it's the most cost-effective and most value-driven way to go. So.
Great, and perhaps it might be significantly less if we're utilizing the content management platform, and it sounds like our forester can give us help us with maybe looking at some of the numbers and help us understand those things. So,
and I also, if I may, I also, this is certainly money well spent, but more of a concern would be ongoing annual costs. If it's $5,000 every year to maintain, that might be harder to swallow than just a one-time 10,000 or whatever the number happens to be.
Got it.
I've earmarked the amount already in my operating budget, so
that's right.
I have it set back.
Was that 10?
Well, initially, without having to go before council, it would need to be under 25,000. So I just put a earmark for that full amount, but I can free up the remainder for other things. So I just went big just in case.
All right, I'll have to look at your budget more closely next time.
I see your hand is up, Commissioner Goodell.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we want to do. If we want to bring in the consultant for a meeting first, if it's appropriate, though, I would be happy to make a motion that we approve the project and move forward on this basis. If that's appropriate, if that's what we want to do today.
I would second it, and we still could have her come speak to us if we wanted.
Right.
Well, great. We've got a motion. We've got a second. Sounds like we need a roll call.
My question is, you were only receiving a presentation. So you didn't say that you were going to be voting on anything. So
Okay.
I think you need to bring this back and maybe have the person come in and put it as that you accept this and budget the funds or whatever.
Got it. That sounds like that's the right way to go. And
Yeah.
sounds like we want to bring her in regardless. And now that we've had this discussion, we'll be able to take back to her some of the potential challenges and opportunities, and so that she might have a revised proposal to make to us, and then there's some additional questions. So thank you for that direction, Leslie. We'll just go ahead and hope you guys enjoyed this presentation, and let's keep moving then.
Yeah.
And I've put the topic on my state-of-the-art agenda tracking board here.
High tech.
All right, fantastic. Then our next order of business would be the City Forester's monthly report for, yeah. So it's over to you.
Thank you, Commissioners. So something that didn't make it onto the report because I got the news after it was already published, but we have been awarded the $150,000 grant from CAL FIRE to do our urban forest management plan and priority planting plan, which will include a complete digital inventory of all of the public right-of-way trees, a canopy assessment quantifying the environmental services provided by the trees, as well as the public process to actually draft and deliver the plan. So that's super exciting. Oh, and a part of it also is we will be planting 108 trees. So
Good job. That's great.
super exciting, especially since we are not an underserved community. So 75% of CAL FIRE's funding, I believe it was $30,000. So 75% of that had to go to underserved communities. So I'm really excited that we slid our little bit into that unrestricted pot of money. So I think that's awesome. And we're getting ready to put out a request for qualifications to find the consultant. It's a pretty niche type of planning process. So we'll be able to choose a consultant pretty quickly. So on to the report. We planted We planted 6 new trees last month. We removed 11 dead trees last month. Since then, that number has gone up to 25 pines. The pines are declining rapidly from drought stress, bark beetle, and now the temperatures are going up kind of unseasonably. So I anticipate that there could be more loss of pine. I would prefer that I'm wrong, but I think we might be losing some more. We did pot up the baby trees that CAL FIRE gave us. So we have 46 Monterey pine and 37 Bishop pine growing bigger in air pots here. So we'll be able to plant those out in the community within most likely 2 to 3 years. So that's fun. The kids from the youth center helped us do that, and they worked super fast. So that was a big help. Um, let's see. So we had 5 confirmations from people who are required to plant trees as a result of an approved permit to remove a tree. So 5 people sent me in a photo of the new trees that they planted. So replanting is happening. That's great. And one of the requests from council was to work on some ivy eradication. I'm going to start that project down on Real Road, just north of Lassen Drive. There's ivy as well as poison oak that are about to swallow the entire bus stop, as well as the walking path down to the mission. So we're going to start there. Just gonna share the screen here. Okay, so in January, we approved the removal of 2 trees, an upper and a lower, and we required that 2 new trees be planted. Last year, we processed 213 applications. That's a lot. So this year we're just at 14 applications so far. And those processed, again, translated to 2 trees coming out to 2 trees coming in. So this graph won't mean anything until we get further into the year. As a whole, for January, we planted 6 trees, we pruned 3 trees, and we removed those 11. Looking back at this graph, I'm pleasantly surprised that we removed nearly half of the trees that we did remove in 2020. So that seems like a positive trend. Hopefully we can keep that up. And then here's our just typical January work with inspections. Plan reviews seem to be picking up once again. And that seems to take a lot of time already. So any questions or comments?
Anyone from the commission have any questions for our forester's presentation? No? Open it up to the public for comments. No comments from the public? Well, thank you, Sarah. Looks like it was a good month, and we'll keep moving. All right, I think we're on to our birthday boy and the presentation that he wants to make. So the floor is yours, Bob.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, first of all, I'm very, very, very disappointed because I really wanted to make that announcement at the very end of this meeting that Sarah's $150,000 CAL FIRE grant. So you kind of spoiled the surprise, but that's all right.
Couldn't keep it in anymore.
Right. But one thing I do want to point out is that this was totally Sarah's idea to go after it in the first place. I was skeptical, to be honest. She wrote the entire application. She tracked it, and she got $150,000. So a real atta girl. Good job on that one. Okay, moving on to City Council actions related to Forestry, Parks, and Beach. First one is some good news. This goes back to the February 1st City Council meeting. There's this nonprofit organization called Project O, like 0, and they run this Blue City Network. And the Blue City Network is made up of cities or agencies that prove that they're good stewards to the environment, and especially with the ocean and waterways. So they contacted us about 6 months ago, and they said that we might be a contender. So we had to fill out this fairly extensive application. The application, it's not a matter of what you say, it's a matter, it's what you do. It's real action-based, tangible tasks that are happening. And then we were shortlisted, and then we did an interview with them, and we passed the interview. So at the February 1st City Council meeting, the representatives of Project O presented to the City Council that City of Carmel-by-the-Sea is a Blue City Ocean Champion certified. So that's really good news. So we're part of the Blue City Network, which is a bunch of other agencies that are also very cognizant and excellent stewards of waterways in the ocean and that type of thing. We are the first agency in the Central Coast, and certainly the first in Monterey County to get this recognition. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Second thing is the Forest Theater lease agreement will be on the council meeting on March the 1st is the next council meeting. About a year ago, we received 2 proposals in response to our request for proposal for facility management and theatrical programming for the Forest Theater, the historic theater. And we received 2 proposals. It has been in the city's council's closed session since that time until last week. We were able to negotiate with the best qualified entity, which is PAC Rep Theater. And we negotiated for many, many months on all the terms. And we prepared a lease agreement, and that lease agreement is now done, and it will be before the City Council on the March 1st, and solicit public input at the time if you are interested in commenting. A couple of big picture things. It will be, if approved, the first term is 5 1/3 years, and then it'll be ongoing. The Forest Theater will still be considered a city park, and City/Carmel Cares will continue to maintain the landscaping and trees and the common areas of the park. There's cost sharing. The prior lease agreement between the city and the Sunset Center, there was a city subsidy. So we were paying Sunset Center to run the Forest Theater. With PAC Rep, there is no city subsidy, but there's a cost sharing arrangement where the city essentially continues to pay for the general maintenance and costs. However, PAC Rep Theater is going to pay for what was it? Electric, gas, and I think water, as well as minor repairs and work with us on capital projects or other repairs, depending on the cost. So it's more of a cost sharing partnership as opposed to we write a check and also do all the repairs ourselves. So it seems to be a pretty good contract. But again, it's one of our most precious parts, theater, and that's kind of where that thing is going. The next topic is capital improvement projects. Not much to report there other than North Dunes Habitat Restoration Project. We received the final annual report for last fiscal year. So it's a bit late, but better late than never. That will be presented to you for an update on North Dunes at probably the April Forest and Beach Commission meeting. And Anya Smartale, our environmental compliance manager, will make that presentation when it's ready. So that's coming. And that's considered a capital project unto itself. That's it for capital projects. Climate Committee. At the meeting on January the 20th, there was a presentation that got really into the nitty-gritty of greenhouse gas emission forecasting and reduction targets and strategies. There's also, we now have a list of climate change adaptation strategies, which incorporated comments received at a public meeting in November. At the next meeting will be next week, February the 17th. And basically we're on the home stretch now of that almost 2-year climate committee. So the climate action plan and the climate adaptation plans are both in almost final draft stage. Our greenhouse gas emissions technical report is almost done. So it's all the pieces are coming together now over the next couple months. It will be presented to the Forest and Beach Commission and the Planning Commission, and also to the City Council for adoption. Okay, so that's And then at the next meeting, they're also talking about what happens after this thing is adopted. How do we start to implement the specific projects that are now identified? So that's what's going on with the climate group. And of course, that impacts beach and what's it called? Tidal rise, sea level rise. Gotta hang in there.
About sugar in the cake.
Volunteer organizations, so focusing on Carmel Cares. They're continuing to do an amazing work on the scenic pathway, as Commissioner Sowers well knows. Devondale Park is looking good. Vista Lobos is looking good. They work on Sunset Center grounds from time to time and meeting islands. Speaking of the meeting islands, Mayor Pro Tem Bobby Richards signed up to be a median minder on the median next to his home. So we're really, it's picking up. It keeps growing. More and more people are signing up to take care of a median, and they do it with heart and soul, and it that's great. Also, Carmel Cares and city staff, we did a couple weeks back in late January, did a real solid effort in the Forest Theater grounds. Really cleaned it up, cleaned up the excessive brush and cut down some of the dead trees, and just a lot, just an extensive cleanup day down there, or cleanup week. And miscellaneous. We hired a contractor to remove 3 very large dead trees. I think they're all pine, Sarah, in Mission Trails Nature Preserve. Right, so that's it, just about done. And the disheartening thing is we're getting tagged more and more with graffiti. It's becoming on restroom, bathrooms, especially on weekends. It's on garbage cans, the squirrel can lids. We're finding it on the beach. Police is well aware of it. We're documenting it more and more, looking for patterns so they can tase or whatever they have to do with the people who are responsible for this. So anyway, if you see something, let the police know, or let Public Works know. And at this point, we want to document it, photograph it, document it, and then clean it up in that order. And then I was going to talk about Sarah's great surprise, but that's that was going to be the end. But that's all I have. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I think says anyone from the commission have any questions about the presentation that our director just made? Nobody. I just had one quick question. Are we any update on being back in chambers?
Yeah. I lost track of if it's gonna go or not, to be honest.
Okay.
It will, if and when it happens, it will be hybrid, so people can Zoom in or they could attend. I believe in March they're having an in-person council workshop on the strategic initiatives at Carpenter Hall. So I think that might be the next face-to-face. I don't know if the March council meeting will be in person or not, but I know that a lot of the council members want to go forward with it, and it depends, with the Omicron variant going downhill, maybe there's still hope. So I think what we said last month was that let's let council do their thing first. We do one more, let's do the Zoom with the Forest Beach Commission. Let them work out the bugs with the CERT people and the vaccination records and all that kind of stuff. Then the following month, then we follow suit. That would be my recommendation.
I do recall that. Thanks. I'll open it up to the public for any public comments. Anyone from the public have any comments? No? Wait, let's see. Wait, I see a hand up. Yes. Lloyd, you're back in action.
Okay, first of all, congratulations, Sarah, on getting the fantastic grant. Secondly, congratulations, Bob, on the Blue City project. That's great. Number 3, congratulations on the Forest Theater lease with Pac Rep. Number 4, happy birthday.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Lloyd.
You can call me Cindy.
I know, but we're very formal here in this meeting.
Oh, yes, I've noticed that.
Extremely formal.
Bye.
There is one thing that I learned about today. In our all staff meeting, Chip did say that the city council strategy meeting was going to be on March 10th at 4 o'clock, which overlaps this meeting. Do we want to change the time?
Sarah, I believe that's premature.
Okay.
When Yashin, who's our interim city clerk, once that date is locked in, which maybe it is, but I didn't get the impression that it's a for sure thing on March the 10th. If it is, when Yvette or Leslie will notify the commissioners as soon as possible to change the time or to change the possible date. But I think it's a little too soon to make that change at this point. But I've been wrong before, once when I was little.
Bringing it back to the commission, anything for discussion as relates to the last presentation that was made? Doesn't look like it. That's good news for us. Future agenda items. What's out there? Anybody have something that we need to make sure we get on our next agenda?
Well, the North Dunes Habitat Restoration Project update.
Okay.
Next couple of meetings.
Is that in April or is that going to be in March?
We can, I think it's earmarked for April.
Okay, got it.
And as we talked about at the public, what do you call it? The outreach update.
Yep.
Bringing the consultant on board and the presentation, then adopting it as a formal project would be a topic.
Got it, perfect. Yes, Commissioner Sowers?
I just wanted to update. So Sarah and I talked today, and she had actually met with Shirley Moon down on the Scenic Pathway project. And I wanted to say that most likely that we would get back with our proposal for the Forest and Beach. If not at our next meeting, it'd be the following meeting. So probably the April meeting, where we'll have an agenda to talk about our response to the Planning Commission on the bench issue.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yes, that's being run by Brandon Swanson, our planning and building director. He knows about it. I'm not sure what date he can commit to at this point, but we will find out.
Rainey.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, are we going to have Marin come to that meeting? Would she be on the agenda?
I would think that we would welcome that. So okay. We'll get our ad hoc committee will have a meeting in the interim, and we'll make some arrangements, and we'll communicate back to staff.
Okay, thank you.
Sound like that's a good plan. Yeah. Any other future agenda items? Your hand's still up, Ramey, so just double checking. Nope. Okay. Then I think we get to adjourn. Is there anything else we need to do? That's it. Hallelujah. Well, thanks very much, everyone, for participating. It's a beautiful day. Get out there, walk on our lovely beach, or go out in our forest and make the best of it.
Thanks, JC.
Thank you very much. Take care.
We'll see you guys.